All right, let's dive into SIP's L6M2. If you're tackling this module, I want you to think of this session as our own little strategic road trip. Together, we're going to navigate all the key concepts and map out the most direct route to smashing that exam. Look, the L6M2 exam can feel like a pretty long and winding road. I get it, but trust me, it's a completely achievable journey. So, go on, buckle up. We are about to break down exactly what you need to know, piece by piece, learning outcome by learning outcome. So, here's our plan for the day, our roadmap, if you will. We've got 4 essential stops, and each one lines up perfectly with a core learning outcome. We'll kick things off with the engine room, strategy itself, then we'll grab our navigation tools. After that, we'll tackle the epic journey of globalization. And finally, we'll make a pit stop to check the fuel, which is all about finance. Okay, first stop, the strategic engine. You can't start a road trip without understanding what's under the hood, right? Well, that's learning outcome 1 for us. It's all about getting a solid grip on the fundamentals of global commercial strategy. First things first, you absolutely have to know the difference between 2 levels of driving. On one hand, you've got strategic management. Think of this as plotting the entire cross-country road trip, setting that long-term destination. It's the big picture, like creating a massive global sourcing policy. Then you've got operational management. This is the day-to-day driving, the hands-on-the-wheel stuff, like issuing one single purchase order. One sets the vision, the other makes it happen moment by moment. Now, to navigate the world of strategy, you gotta speak the language, and that means knowing your key terms: mission, vision, competitive advantage. These are like the road signs on our journey. If you don't know what they mean, you're gonna get lost. Take a company like Harley Davidson. A huge part of its competitive advantage is that iconic brand, that heritage. Knowing that vocabulary is absolutely essential for your exam. In the end, strategy really boils down to 3 key steps. First, you have to understand your position. Where are you right now? For Harley Davidson, that means looking at its powerful brand, but also recognizing threats like a changing market and an aging customer base. Second, you make your choices. What route are you going to take? Harley chose to pivot, to develop its electric live-wire brand to attract a whole new generation. And finally, you take action. This is where the rubber meets the road. It means moving your R&D money around and building brand new supply chains to make it all happen. Position, choices, action. Simple as that. All right, so we understand the engine. Now, let's talk about the navigation tools. To handle the complex, sometimes bumpy global roads, you need the right instruments. And for this next section, we're going to stick with our guide, the legendary Harley Davidson. So one of the most powerful tools in your entire toolkit has to be the steepled analysis. Honestly, the best way to think of it is as your strategic GPS. It's what helps a company like Harley Davidson see what's coming up on the road ahead. Spotting risks early, adapting its supply chain on the fly, and ultimately staying ahead of the competition on a global stage. And here we can see this GPS in action. Just look at the ethical factor. Customers are demanding responsible sourcing, right? So Harley's supply chain has no choice but to respond. That means more due diligence, more transparency. Or what about the demographic shift? The core customer base is getting older. Well, that directly tells the supply chain that it needs to gear up for new products or start looking at totally new markets. It's a direct cause and effect. Another critical navigation tool is understanding the product lifecycle. Harley's classic, rumbling petrol motorcycles, well, they're in the maturity stage. Sales are slowing, and in some places, they're even entering decline because of changing tastes and new emissions laws. This isn't just a small bump in the road. It forces a massive strategic shift. It means they have to start scaling down some old supply chains to pivot to the future. And here's the fascinating part. While one journey is winding down, a whole new one is just kicking off. Harley's electric line, Livewire, is right at the beginning, in the introduction stage. This demands a totally different map, a completely different strategy. It means pumping money into new R&D and building an entirely new supplier network from scratch. Okay, time for our third major stop, the globalization journey. This learning outcome, LO3, is all about how you actually formulate and implement strategy, and it zeroes in on one of the biggest, most daunting decisions a company can ever make. Should we go global? Globalization. This is a massive strategic choice. For a company like Harley Davidson, it means weighing the huge potential of new markets in Asia against some pretty immense risks. Think about the procurement trade-offs alone. You've got the chance to find cheaper parts, but then you're dealing with longer lead times, political risks, cultural differences. It's a constant balancing act. Do you centralize your buying to save money, or do you decentralize it to adapt to local tastes? That debate is the heart of LO3. And for your exam, to nail that big 25-mark question, you have to show you get it. You need a balanced argument, you need to link everything back to procurement, and you have to give a solid, justified conclusion. And that brings us to the final stop on our roadmap today, fueling the ride. We're talking about learning outcome 4, and it's all about the one thing that makes this entire strategic journey possible in the first place, the money, finance. It's really this simple. Strategy needs fuel, and every single decision you make has a financial consequence. LO4 is all about making that direct link between financial tools and real-world procurement decisions. It's about asking the smart questions, like, can my most important suppliers actually survive a recession? To answer that, you'd look at their liquidity ratios. Or, how is Harley Davidson going to pay for a new factory in Thailand? Well, they'd weigh up debt financing versus using their own profits. And how do they stop their profits from getting wiped out by currency swings when buying parts? That's where currency hedging comes in. Understanding these practical financial links is what LO4 is all about. And just like that, you've done it. By understanding the engine, the navigation tools, the journey, and the fuel, you've basically covered the core of all 4 learning outcomes for L6M2. It's like finishing that long road trip and finally seeing your destination right there on the horizon. So there you have it. That's your roadmap to the L6M2 module. We've gone through the core concepts and the frameworks you need to apply them. The only question left is, what's your next strategic move going to be to make sure you ace that exam? Thanks for joining me on the trip.